Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk to you about how to talk to your teen girls and maybe younger adult daughters about nutrition and health and fitness. And before I get started, I want to be clear that I am so cautious and careful about the way that I think we should speak to young girls and children and young women about nutrition and health and fitness, because I myself, as someone who has struggled with an eating disorder as a teacher, I used to teach nutrition and health. As someone who is a current and present coach of a lot of female athletes who have questions about nutrition, this is a topic that I think is so important and I'm very passionate about. And I want to give people the tools to do so in a way that doesn't trigger anything in athletes. I think one of the reasons why people are so afraid to talk about health and fitness with young girls is because we think that just talking about it will create some eating disorder. We think that having athletes be aware or people, young girls be aware of what they're eating will trigger an eating disorder. And that's actually not true. And what we end up doing is we end up leaving them in the dark and they feel betrayed by women. They really do. So I want to help some people today. If you are someone who these strategies have worked for you, please leave this in the comment section below. Provide any other, tips that you guys have. We're all here to learn. So I just want to share with you guys my experience and leave with you guys with some tips. So as I said before, I was a teacher for 12 years. I was a PE teacher. I was a health teacher. I currently have my nutrition and health coach certifications as well as my personal training certifications, which led me to working with a lot of athletes and kind of just regular human beings, regular young women. I've taught everything from elementary school to high school, and I have college athletes as well. So my breadth of community that I've worked with is pretty large. Before you even want to talk to an athlete about, or your child, let's talk about your children. I think this is a better way to talk about it. Before you even talk about this, I think it's really important to evaluate your own habits. One thing that I've noticed is that children are not really necessarily listening to what you say. Ironic, because I'm like, this is how you talk to your child about nutrition. No, they're not. They're watching what you do. And it's not just what you're eating. They're watching your energy around food. I don't really have another word for that, like energy. They're watching your emotions around food. They're watching your emotions around your body. They're watching your emotions around clothing. They're watching you watch other people eat. They're watching you make comments about other. So there's so much that starts at the head, and I call that the parents, which is you better get right first. It is so important to embody whatever habits that you want your children to embody. Now you can say like, don't be like me, but like that doesn't quite hit the same. And I know this because I'm not a parent of my students. I'm not a parent of my athletes, but I've noticed that number one, it's quite scary, you guys. Like I spend a lot of time with my athletes, right? I spend hours and hours a week with them. And we have very, the relationship of a teacher versus a coach and an athlete is very different, right? One of the scariest moments of my life, I kid you guys not, was when I heard athletes repeating things that I have said, like phrases that I have said. And I was like, oh, this is nuts. Like, I actually don't like this, because I was put on notice that they are watching and how I respond to everybody. So I would say, like another athlete would make a mistake and I was like, oh, that's fine. Like, that's why we're here, so we can get better. And then they would say that to another athlete who was having a bad day. And I'd be like, which is fine, right? That's fine. It's a good thing that they're copying. But in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I was mean to that athlete and was like, suck it up? Like, and there's a time and place for that. But what if and they responded in the same way? Like, you know what I mean? So I had this like very strange realization and I was like, oh my gosh. So, and of course, like I understand, I'm watching, how students behave and how teens behave and how much it correlates with how their parents behave. And so I just know this from my own experience and from working with students that they are watching how their parents respond. And of course, my experience with my adult clients who have told me, yeah, like, watching my mother berate herself in the mirror and talk about food as if it was the most dangerous thing on earth was a problem. So that's my first tip, is to really check your own energy, check your own mindset, check your own actions around food. Whether that's your binge eating, your kids are watching. Whether that's your super restricting, your kids are watching. So you can want all day, but they're watching. Okay, now let's get into the other tips. Number 2, when I talk about nutrition with teens, not necessarily athletes, but just like teens in general, I talk to them about food as if it's something that is just kind of like, And the reason why I do that more nonchalantly is because I don't think it's healthy for kids to be like, I can't have this, I can't have that. So what I say to them often is what I say to my clients. And this was I remember I was teaching a health class, and I said, 80% of the time I nourish my body, 20% of the time I nourish my soul. And these light bulbs go off. And this girl, she was a ballet dancer, and oh my gosh, it makes me so emotional. It was like she felt like, I have a solution for this. Because, with ballet, they're not, there's all this weird, talk about food and body shapes and body sizes. And, she was thin. And I could see that she was a little fearful of her goldfish. And she goes, so I can have goldfish, 20%. Yes, ma'am. I mean, girl, you can have it more than that. But it was like, oh, this is not about never, ever having goldfish. It's like, is goldfish the best thing for you? No. But if you I personally like the burnt goldfish. Girl, eat the burnt goldfish as part of one of your snacks. And it was like, oh. So I always talk about it as sort of like, I'm fueling my body. And then sometimes, I need to fuel my soul. And that's, in Black culture, we have soul food. It's the most, unhealthy, fattiest, fried, delicious, sugar-laden, carbohydrate, fat mixtures that you could imagine. But 80% of the time, I nourish my body. 20% of the time, I nourish my soul. So I don't even really get into calories necessarily unless it's an athlete who needs to gain weight or an athlete who needs to lose weight. And even then we talk about carbohydrates instead and fats and proteins, but I'll get into that in a second. So the first thing I say is this is really about no food is bad. People don't like that, right? I think it is important to say that there are not bad foods. There are foods that contribute to my health, and there are foods that are detriments. Your body can handle both. And I make sure I say that your body can handle both. So it's not like you can never have things that are detriments to your health. It's that you don't want to be doing that all the time, right? So it's all about that balance. So I talk about foods that nourish my body, and I talk about whole, fresh, nutritious foods, and I talk about foods that nourish my soul. Pizza, pasta, with a ton of cheese, and, In-N-Out burgers, and, McDonald's, and Flurries, and Handel's ice cream, and Yogurtland. And I talk about that, and I say, so it's not about restricting food. It's about what is going to nourish my body. Because at the end of the day, the reality is how you feel is often a reflection of what you're eating. So that's the first part. Then I get into why certain foods, and this is over time. And remember, I was teaching a nutrition class. So it was our health class. So our topic was nutrition. And I talked about too much sugar, not enough protein, not enough veggies, the role of veggies, how they clean your body. And so you want to have veggies regularly because it helps keep everything regular, and then you have more energy and you can sleep better. And so we talk about it in terms of that. Okay, so that's how I talk about nutrition. 80% of the time I nourish my body, 20% of the time I nourish my soul. I did go into this is why you need protein. So I talked about how protein helps keep your skin taut, and it helps how you keep muscle on your frame, and your heart's a muscle, and how you need protein for that. And some of you guys are athletes and you're lifting weights, and so you need that to maintain. You need it helps you stay hungry, so you're not just snacking all the time. And then you're like, I'm never full. And then and so we talk about the role of protein. We talk about how fat is really, really, really good for women and that you actually need it for your thyroid and how it's really important if you want to have balanced hormones. And we talk about, guys, I tell them the truth. I'm like, you guys, I was crazy as a teen. I was like crazy around my cycle. Raise your hand silently if that's you. And they're like, they'll laugh and go, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's talk about how you need to have a balanced diet to help with all of that. Cause I was so mean and I just couldn't control my attitude. And I tell them the truth. I'm like, yeah, y'all, I was crazy because I'll tell them the truth, which was I was eating a bagel and a soda for lunch. And I was like, and my hormones were so crazy and I was so mean and I was so like, man, cranky. And they're like, oh my gosh, me too, not me. And we just kind of laugh about it. No judgment, because nobody's telling you guys this, right? And then we moved on. And then I always tell them, and then my mom started making me sandwiches for lunch and it was amazing. Like I didn't realize that what she was doing was like, she was making sure I had protein. She was making sure I had some carbs. She was making sure I had some fats. And I mean, I was like, my mom knew all this, but I didn't know, but I felt so good. And I had all this energy and I started PRing in track. And so I talk about like the difference, right? Because it's all about, again, this is a lifestyle. It's not just about weight loss. It's just not about losing weight. And then I talk about your body. And I tell them, hey guys, if you've seen me on Instagram, you guys know that I'm pretty muscular. And I tell them, you guys, people used to make fun of me for my legs and I used to want to be like super thin. And then I was like, and then now everybody's like, oh my gosh, how do you get your legs like that? And I'm like, you see things. So it's not about, and I was like, they were like, really? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe that. And I'm like, yes. And then at one point it was like super in to be super skinny and then we talk about like, okay, so like food is not about changing your body. It's about health. And then I say, hey, you guys, I tell them this, and I think you should tell your daughters this. I say, hey, in every other country except the United States, people look at food as medicine, which is true. Like we look at, someone's like, when I was living in Korea, it was like, oh, you're sick, have some garlic, some kimchi, and some of this, right? In the United States, it's like, it's purely about moving your weight up and down. And that's just like and I'm like, that's just not the healthiest way, in my opinion, to look at food. And so that's another thing I share with them. And then, as it relates to, if a student, I've had a couple students and athletes who needed to lose weight. Then I've also just worked with clients who have needed to lose weight who were younger and in their teens. So instead of focusing on caloric intake, I focus on healthy food. So I go, okay, let's make sure we're getting in a lot of vegetables. Let's make sure that because the reality is, you guys, most teens are not overweight because, they're eating, like there's something wrong with their metabolism. It's usually because they're just not eating balanced, healthy meals. So I talk to them about what is a healthy plate. So things that you can have, and we talk about like your friends are going out because a lot of them are in high school and they're driving to McDonald's. And it's like, okay, well, you don't have to be the person who doesn't eat McDonald's. I'm sorry, but sometimes it's just not realistic for teens. And so you want to teach them how to make good decisions. So like you say, okay, well, like go ahead and get the salad and get the fries. And then, put a little bit of the dressing on there. And then you see how like you have a salad with chicken, then you have your fries, that's your protein, that's your carbs, that's your fat. And I teach them how to make a healthy plate. And I give them examples of healthy foods because that's what they need to know is like, what is healthy? A lot of teens are just completely out of the loop. So we focus on that. We focus on the nutrition piece of here's a healthy meal. And then I say, okay, what are some habits we can work on? Well, number one, like everyone kind of needs to move like, we talk about blood flow. And I would say, hey, it's really important for your brain that you get blood flow every day. So let's make sure that you're moving every single day. Let's make sure that you're looking at exercise as not just a way to change your body, but as a way to strengthen your heart, right? Especially as it comes to cardio. And then we talk about, one thing that I love talking to young girls about is strength training and like how important it is for your brain. Like it actually helps reduce dementia. And we talk about how young women, especially athletes, that they don't have as many injuries when they lift weights. So we talk about the importance of like finding a personal trainer and just learning the basics, or maybe doing things at home, maybe doing Pilates, at home Pilates, or doing something so where you can exercise 4 to 5 days a week. Yes. Because here's the thing, you guys, most girls who are not athletes are just sitting all day. And PE is only 1 or 2 years. So they're sitting all day. They don't have organized activity. And that's the truth, is that you actually need to be moving. And it's not about weight loss. It's actually just about their mental health. Like stagnancy is bad for you in all areas. Stagnancy promotes depression. I remember this story I told my students once, and they were just like, they were laughing. I was like, okay, so I was watching a dog. The dog had diarrhea, like massive, like all over the place in the crate. My dog was barking, and it was just, I woke up late. It was a crazy morning. And I was like, you guys, this morning was so insane. And I was so frustrated, and I didn't want to come to work today, like in this mood. So I just went outside and I did a couple sprints up the hill, and then I felt better. And they were like, we were all cracking up about it. And they were like, huh. And like, that was one of the things I was like, yeah, this is like how I coped with stress, because I was like, you guys, I just didn't want to come in here with a bad attitude and like yell at you guys and be mad at you guys. And we all laughed about it. And we talked about like the importance of like how exercise is a great outlet for stress, so that you're not like biting everybody's neck off every time you see them. And we laughed about it, we joked about it, and I was like, okay, raise your hand if you are gonna now use that as a strategy. And they're like, yeah, me too. You know, and it's like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You just like get outside and walk for 10 minutes. But it's really important to talk about these things as more of a lifestyle benefit than anything else. Because here's the truth. You guys know I say this to my clients all the time. What you gonna do when that weight comes off? Are you going to stop lifting and eating well because now the weight's gone? No, you do it because it's good for you, because it's actually what makes you a better person internally. Like you feel better physiologically. It makes you a healthier person. So it is really important to discuss fitness and nutrition in that way. I really think it's important that families encourage family exercise as well. So like everyone going on a walk. My family used to, okay, y'all, we were poor now. So a lot of you guys got money. Organized sports activities, family gym time. So we used to go to the YMCA. And at the YMCA, I don't know how they do it now because this is a massive YMCA, but I used to just, my parents would be, doing their thing. I would be playing basketball, or I'd be on the weight machines. But we would all go to the YMCA together. And that was a way for us to get exercise. And, my parents could do their thing and the kids could do the other. And so I don't know how many family gyms there are really around. I know there's like all this liability stuff, but if there's something like that in your area, or you just do it at home, like if you guys have equipment at home, it's a family gym day, pop on a workout video, pop on a home workout, and get going. That is the best way to sort of motivate people to, get moving in your family. And like I said at the beginning of the video, one of the most important things is that as parents, you demonstrate that behavior, because they're watching. They may make fun of you. They may think it's silly, but they'll do it too, because it's about being healthy. It's not about necessarily losing weight. So even if your child needs to lose weight, I let the doctor tell them that, first of all. Let the doctor tell them that. And then say, okay, let's work on these habits together. Like, oh, I need to do this too. I need to be better about this too. So let's do it together. Let's go walk together every night. Let's have some healthy, salads and add more vegetables and make sure we're eating our protein, and do it with them. But it doesn't really work well to like tell your kid to do something and you're not doing, because they're like, yeah, this woman's not serious, or this man's not serious. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you guys have any other tips, let me know. I'd love to hear about them in the comment section below. And did I say don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe? Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.